MyDoma Studio is your complete designer toolkit. You know this, right? MyDoma makes it easy to streamline your processes, track your projects, communicate with clients, and just get organized. It is created by designers for designers, specifically to address what you need as a design business owner. MyDoma is now together with Studio Designer, and they are the industry-leading solution. With 20,000 plus users, more designers choose their platform than any other. Are you ready to reach the next level of profitability and efficiency? Book a demo with MyDoma Studio today by going to mydomastudio.com/Luann. That's mydomastudio.com/Luann. Welcome to A Well-Designed Business. My name is Luann Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. My guest today is Madelaine Mayer, founder of ADROIT Architecture and Interior Design in New York City. Madelaine is a licensed architect, a certified interior designer, LEED and WELL accredited, and a faculty member at the New York School of Interior Design. Her work has been featured in Architectural Digest, House Beautiful, Apartment Therapy, and Real Simple. Now, these are fantastic credentials, but I know a lot of you, most of you, are visual. So go to her website after this episode and take a look at her portfolio. You can see for yourself what bold, technically brilliant design looks like in 800 square feet in a Manhattan apartment. You know, it's pretty remarkable what Madelaine does with a tiny space. She has a lot of talent and she has an incredible work ethic. But here's why Madelaine is on the show today. Madelaine has spent nearly 20 years as a commercial architect before she made the change to become a full-time interior designer. And the conversation we have today is not really about architecture or interior design. It's about the story that we tell ourselves, about what our credentials mean, what our education obligates us to, and how we stay somewhere even though we don't feel like it's the right place to be. This year in 2026, Madelaine is one of my chairman of the board coaching clients, and I have had a front row seat to her growth, her commitment to her career, and her work ethic. And I'm so happy that she's here today to share her story with you. If you've ever felt stuck in the gap between what you're capable of and what actually makes you happy, then this episode is for you. And since I just mentioned the chairman of the board, I'll take a moment now to talk to you about that directly because it feels early, but 2027 spots are going to fill up soon. Every year, I take 5 new chairman of the board clients. I work with each one individually. And typically, we're going to start in January and end in December. We do quarterly planning sessions, monthly accountability calls, unlimited Voxer access to me with anything that comes up in between. 5 clients, that's my business model. It's the model by design. I want to show up as my best for everyone in that room. And this is the same way that you stage your projects to start on certain dates based on your pipeline. So last year, by October, every seat for January was filled. So if you've been thinking about this, even though it's only June, think hard, think fast, and reach out. Because if you're ready to start for 2027, now is the time to put your hand up. Go to luannigara.com/COB and submit your inquiry today. Alrighty, I'm happy to introduce you to Madelaine. Hey, Madeline, thanks so much for joining me on A Well Designed Business today.
Hi, Luann. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so I'm excited about this because, of course, right out the gate, I'm going to tell everybody you're one of my chairman of the boards this year. So I've had the pleasure of getting to know you for about 5 months now at this point. And I have found you to be a very intentional entrepreneur. And I know you just went, really? That's the only adjective? Because I'm an A+ girl and I need a couple more.
I mean, I'll take all the adjectives.
um, but I have, and you are. What's funny is you're 25 years in the industry,
hmm
and this is perfectly acceptable and perfectly fine. But you have, through this whole 5 months, you have run things by me that in my wildest dreams I never thought you would have, being this seasoned. But that is why I've been calling you my A++ student, because there's no part of you that well, an A- is okay or a B+
No,
is good. No, I know. Look at her. She's like getting a rash thinking about it.
I'm physically itchy under no circumstances.
Yeah. So I have to say, it's got to be hard being you, Madeleine. I got to say.
Depends a bit on the day, but there's never an easy day.
That's a lot. That's a lot of self-imposed pressure. I have to
hmm
say, it gets you great results. But it's a lot of self-imposed pressure. And it's interesting that when you did the intake form for this, which is before we started coaching, so I think
hmm
that's interesting to read it now after I've gotten to know you, is I'm going to just read it because it's so funny hearing it
Yeah.
all crashing in my mind together. My core message is that the design industry is comprised of a huge variety of equally important roles. And while one may invest heavily in a specific path, such as architecture, it should not prevent an individual from pivoting to another. Now, I just want to go on. Um, there was another part that I really liked that said, I believe my experience offers a unique perspective. When I began my career nearly 25 years ago, I was inspired and influenced by my parents, a doctor and a lawyer. They encouraged pursuing the highest designation in the field, and I believed being an architect was superior to being a decorator. Consequently, I spent nearly 2 decades working in commercial and institutional architecture, unhappily focused on drawing construction documents, reviewing submittals, and coordinating engineers. When I started my own interior design practice, my father genuinely asked if I would be happier picking pillows rather than designing hospitals. And my answer was a resounding yes. And
Yep.
so I just think it's funny because I read that 6 months ago before we coaching, and then I read it again this morning, and I was like, oh, sweet Jesus, this makes so much sense
Yeah.
now.
Well, and let's also add the context for everyone. You said that's a lot of like self-imposed, pressure. You also met my mother said lawyer
Yes.
yesterday. So it's not entirely
No,
self-imposed.
I mean, that's what it is. It's like now you realize it's something that you grew up with in your family, that,
hmm
we're smart people, we're achievers, and this is what we do. This is how
Yeah.
we roll.
Yep.
And, I've had interviews over the years with others on the show that have come from expectations of being doctors and lawyers and, the more traditional, and are just like, but I want to be a designer. And sometimes it does take them many years. So yours was architecture,
Yeah.
not like it wasn't like you spend 10 years as an accountant or a lawyer. But still, I think what I'm hearing in your intake form is you wouldn't have done that if it wasn't that upbringing either. You might have gone
Yeah.
right to it, right?
I might have gone right to it. I might have taken 5 years or even 10 years as opposed to nearly 20
20,
years
yeah.
to get there. Um, you know, we build these expectations around professions, around words, around values, and that just because something is difficult to achieve, just because something is perceived as like elite or having a high barrier to entry, that it therefore has a higher value and it's
Mhm.
better
Yeah.
or more appropriate or more applicable. And that's just not true,
Right.
right? Like you can, um, I I always chuckle because I always wind up thinking of car analogies. And as I'm such a quintessential New Yorker, even though I grew up in New Jersey, and I do not have a driver's license, so the car analogies always make me laugh.
Mhm.
But so you're driving your car in New Jersey. Someone had to design the car. Someone has to own the dealership where you bought the car. Someone has to service the car. Someone has to own the company that manufactured the car. There's so many hands and brains that went into you being able to drive your car down the street to get to where you need to go to live your life. And
Mhm.
if any of those hands were absent, you wouldn't be able to do it. So
Right.
one is not necessarily more valuable than the other.
Right.
Um, and I came from a liberal arts education, and one of the things that comes up constantly whenever I get together with other alumni from the school and people who took a lot of sociology classes is Plato's concept of techne, which is the root of the word technology.
Mm.
And the concept of techne is doing the task to which you are best suited that also best serves society as a
Mm.
collective, right?
Mm.
So you could really, really want to be a doctor, but
Mhm.
be a terrible doctor. Don't go
Right.
be a doctor,
Right.
right? But you could be a spectacular cobbler. People
Yes.
still need shoes. Go be a cobbler and be the
Yes.
best gosh darn cobbler you could be.
Yeah.
But when you grow up with certain expectations and in a society that has certain, well, you're smart enough to do X, you tested well enough to do Y, you confine yourself to those paths and then you invest in them. It becomes harder to walk away from because
Right.
the
Years and
sunken
money and
cost
times. Yes.
increases. You're like, well, I'm 2 years into schooling for this. I don't know. Do I just finish the darn degree?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
I got the
I
degree.
got the
Should I get a
degree. Should I get
job?
the job? All right. Well, I got the job. So
I
should
should
I
stay long
file my
enough for the
internship
bonus.
hours? All right. So I got my hours. Should I take my tests? All right. Well, now that I took my test, should I stay and be in leadership? Now I'm making a decent enough salary to like be alive in New York City. Do I really walk away from that? Like, and it just can't. And then you're like, oh, it's been 18
20.
years. I've been pretty unhappy. I don't know what to do next.
So here's the interesting thing, and I know that you know this, and I know that every person listening to the show knows this, is that even though the external society may say architect, higher on the totem pole, like the details in the job as an interior designer and the massive budgets that you have to maintain and come in on time and on budget and all those things. This is not we know it. We say it in this
Mm-hmm.
industry. It's not a picking pillows job, right?
Yep.
But I guess what you're saying here is getting beyond what the world looks at it and really just getting clear of this is 18 years and it's not my joy. And
Yeah.
my joy is right there. It's not even like I want to quit this and I want to be a dog walker. It's like right over there on the other side of this career adjacent
Yeah.
to it, right?
Yeah. And it was, I kept like going around and kept trying, but just not getting there. Because I think we've all had the experience of feeling like a square peg in a round hole at
Mhm.
some point in our lives. And you go, maybe it's just this hole. I need a different hole, but you're still going to a round hole or like an oval hole or like a hexagonal hole. Like, you need a different hole. I realize that this could be misinterpreted in a completely inappropriate way, but like I went from, well, maybe it's just this firm. Maybe
Yeah.
it's just these people. Maybe it's just these projects. Maybe it's this firm's size. Maybe it's,
Oh.
so I went from, my first job was at a really small firm that specialized in, of all things, waterproofing.
Huh.
One of what I find the least fascinating part, but like fundamentally, really, like you could not get more different from a pillow than a waterproofing membrane. But it was like a postgraduate degree in building construction, but in a way that made me want to claw my eyes out every day. But I learned a lot.
Yeah.
And that boss was hands down the best boss I've ever had in my life. And I
Mm,
learned how to treat other people.
mm.
And I learned valuable detailing skills and things that most architects don't learn for like another 3 to 5 years. I learned in year one.
Wow.
Great. But that then put me on this path that was so technical in every other office I went to, because they would look at me and go, "Oh,
You know how to do that.
you know how to do that.
Yeah.
I can pay you this salary to do that.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
I will tell you to your face, sure, sweetie pie, you could do a layout and pick some tile. Sure."
yeah.
No,
Right.
no, I didn't get to design a single thing for the first 10 years of my career. I didn't get to pick a
Mhm.
paint color for 10
Wow.
years.
Wow.
Um, and, but again, like that wheel keeps churning,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
You, you've put
Well,
the
you're now
investment
part of
in.
the you're a
Yeah,
cog in the machine now.
yep,
It's like, it's anything else. It's like, wait a minute, we're not chasing our dreams. We're like making a paycheck and we're
yeah,
getting the bills paid and we're keeping a roof over our head. We've
yeah,
all been in that for a period of our time,
absolutely.
I would think. And some still are there, right? Some are just there now, leaving one career, going to another. Um, but it is an interesting thing. And curious, having met your mom yesterday, lovely, amazing lady, by the way. Did she tell you? I was like, I'm sorry, your face and neck have no wrinkles.
she,
I'm like,
she, she was like, I don't know if Luann has eyes. So we're sitting in the house afterwards,
I'm
and
10 years younger than you, and my neck is way wrinklier. What are you doing over there?
she said this, and then my dad got home from work like maybe half an hour after my mom and I got home, and then she like pantomimed the whole thing again for him after. She's like, that Luann is so lovely.
Yeah, well, I wasn't doing to butter her up. I was literally talking with her. I'm like, my God, I'm like, what is she doing differently?
She doesn't go
Anyway.
to the beach.
Yeah, yeah, right.
That's what she does
Yeah,
differently.
exactly. But the thing is, where I was going to say is, it's clear, she's an accomplished woman. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Not even by what you've told me, but in just talking with her, And so, did it take them a hot minute, or by the time you were 18 years in, it was like, okay, Madelaine, you're a grown adult here. We trust your
Oh
instinct on
no.
this. Oh no,
Oh
oh no.
no.
So even 18 years in, it was like, sit down, girl.
So here's my parents are incredible and
I know
lovely
you love them.
individuals.
I know you love them.
And we have this really funny dynamic, because I'm a gal who's got a lot of ideas. We talked a little bit yesterday. I had a jewelry line. I used to be a yoga instructor, all like on the side while being an architect. Like architect friend of mine, we started like a Revit consultancy company at one point, like building Revit families for other company. Like always got an idea, always got to have an entrepreneurial thing happening. And I would frequently propose an idea to my parents
So
and be
this
like,
was just
I'm
one
going to do
more
a
idea
thing.
in the crazy
And they
ideas.
would look at me like, did you fall on walking down the stairs
Yeah,
and hit
did
your
you get
head on the
that?
way? Are you okay? I remember right after I completed my intern development hours. So, for your listeners that don't know, in the path to becoming a licensed architect, you first have to go to an accredited program. So, either a 5-year bachelor's or a 3-year master's. You then have to earn and document a set number of hours in 16 different categories. And
Whoa,
if you just add up the number of hours, it would be 3 years.
whoa.
But of course, you're always like, well, I got extra of these hours and I don't have enough of these hours. So for most people, it really winds up being like at least 4 years. And it used to be, of course it did, that in New York State, because every state is different, that you had to earn all of your hours before you could take your licensing exams.
Okay.
That is not the case now. You can do it concurrently now.
Okay.
The law changed approximately 4 days after I completed my hours. Like I sent in my last form and they were like, we've changed the law. And I was like, super cool story. So I just finished my hours and it was the necklace that we were talking about yesterday. I had just made this pearl necklace to wear to a friend's wedding and I really loved making it, and I had missed the physical making of beautiful objects because I'm old enough that when I went to architecture school, we still did all of our models by hand
Okay.
and made things. But now working, we're in this completely digital and
Mm,
paper-based environment, and architecture projects, especially large scale commercial and institutional projects like hospitals, schools, corporate offices, they take a long time. So you don't
mm,
have that more immediate satisfaction of making something with your hands and like seeing it a week later being finished.
right.
So I made this necklace, and I was like, well, I might as well wear it to work because like I have this, necklace now. I might as well wear it. And people are like, oh my God, I love your necklace. Where'd you get your necklace? I'm like, oh, I made it. They're like, oh my God, you made it? Will you make me a necklace? I'm like, yeah, pay me money. I'll make you a necklace. So just earned all my hours. I go home for Thanksgiving. And no, I went home for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur
Okay.
that year because the proof was in Thanksgiving. So I go home Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur in September, and I was like, guys, I'm going to start a jewelry line. Like, was there an accident on the train? Did
Right,
you hit your
right.
head at Penn Station? What?
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, no, guys, trust me. Like, this is going to be great. And they're like, you just finished your hours. Take your stinking tests. Like, you've got 7 tests to take. Like,
Yeah,
what are you?
yeah.
I'm like, no, trust me, guys. And they're like, you're insane. And
Now,
then I
you weren't
came
saying you
home.
weren't gonna take the test, you just wanna do it at the same
I,
time?
I was like, I'm putting them on the back burner.
Oh, you were actually gonna, like, hold
I
them.
was like, I am not going to start dealing with tests right now. I'm going to start a
Okay.
jewelry line. And they're like, you're cuckoo banana pants. And I came home Thanksgiving. I was like, give me a couple of weeks and I'll
Yeah,
show you what I mean. And they're like,
yeah.
all right. So I go home for Thanksgiving a couple of weeks later, and I was like, here's prototypes of 8 different pieces showcasing 3 different techniques that I plan on implementing.
Mm.
And this is how I plan on pricing things. And I showed them preliminary spreadsheets with pricing structures. And this is what my advertising campaign is going
Here's
to
our
be.
A plus plus student.
And they looked at me and they went, yeah, no, you have to start a jewelry business. Obviously, that's 100%. How can we help? That absolutely makes sense. So, for starting my own studio, technically, I started the studio in 2019, which is more than 3.5 years ago. Um, and it was, again, that outlet, that antidote to these very long term institutional projects, these
Mm,
very sterile, monotonous, soul
yeah,
sucking, not the right place. And it was like for friends and
yeah,
for friends of friends. And like, hey, like I'll do a layout and I'll pick some furniture and give me your credit card and I'll order stuff from West Elm with my
yeah,
20% discount and I'll
yeah.
order stuff from Wayfair for you and like you'll pay me for my time. But like it was very
Yes.
not a professional level of doing
Right.
this.
It
This
was
is
a
very,
creative outlet while you
yeah,
towed the
yeah.
line at the other.
It was where most of us
A lot start.
start,
Sure,
right?
sure.
It's where people who are like, oh, I'm gonna change careers completely because I did my house and
Yes.
my house blew up on social. It was that, but just doing it for friends. And I continued to find like, oh, look at that interesting pentagon shaped hole and that interesting octagon shaped hole. And I worked at an AV studio for a year and worked at the city of New York for 3 years. And I kept trying to find this fit and it kept not fitting. And it took to the point of getting so exasperated and so desperately unhappy and calling
Mm,
my mother every single day in tears
mm.
at the last job that I had before. I was like, I can't, this is destroying
Soul
me
sucking.
from the
Yeah.
inside out. And I can't. And I know that it is scary because, you know, a lot of people who start their own businesses have, are fortunate enough they have a partner of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
They're not owning 100% of their living expenses. They're not owning
Mm-hmm.
100% of their health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a gal with some medical issues. I can't not have health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
New York City rent is not what one would call paltry,
Reasonable.
reasonable in any world. So it was very scary because I'd finally gotten to that place of, well, you're making enough money to live in New York City like a human being. Are
Yes.
you, my dad's looking at me, are you really walking away from that? You're working on hospitals, you're working on schools, you're working on these important projects, you're running a team, you're in senior leadership in an office, you've slogged through all of
The
this,
hard part to get to
and you
that.
want to go buy furniture for someone's one bedroom apartment. Like, are you serious? And I said, yeah, I am serious.
Wow.
And there was a period where I had to prove it, and they had to see and feel
Mm-hmm.
how much I could not continue to do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were on board 100%.
Yeah,
Once they
she
saw it,
strikes
it
me
was
as she's in your
100%.
corner. Yeah, she strikes
And
me totally.
And the refrain that I always hear from them, that I want to go on record, I want the world to hear, everyone to know, every time I tell them, oh, like this client didn't come through, or I'm struggling with this, or I don't know about this. Even when we started chairman of the board, and I was like, it is X dollars. And I don't know, guys, I feel in my bones it's the right thing, but like, ooh. Their constant refrain is, you do not stand alone.
Mm. Oh my
And
God. Just get
that is the
goosebumps.
support
Ugh.
that enables you to take the leap, because New York City, she's a scary leap of a cliff to jump off of on your own when you've
That's
hit a
it.
place of security.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know what? It's interesting because on one hand, like when we take it apart, part of the reason that you spent 18 years as an architect was because of the standards that you felt were imposed by them. On the other hand, the total freedom to leave it and do what you want is because you have the
Yeah.
standard of them standing with you.
Yeah.
And it's interesting too because we don't even have to say it. It's not like when I interview somebody, I'm thinking of April Gandy. I remember interviewing her, and we'll put her link in the show notes. Whenever I mention somebody, we always put a link and make it easier to find her if you're interested. But she came from a career in military,
Mm-hmm.
and so when she's telling me about like she flew jets, I'm like, my brain is like, this is a precise lady. Like,
Yeah.
she's not going to measure. Well, it's about a half inch. Take her, but little. It's like, no, we need to do this exactly right. So to me, it's like we all know here on this show, in this audience, that everything we do brings us to the moment that we do it,
Yeah.
and so I think even this 18 years of architecture, the way you do your design now is so incredibly informed by that.
Yes.
Agree? Right?
Yes. 1,000,000%.
Stupidly agree, right?
Yes.
Yes. Because here's what I'm constantly hearing from Madelaine, you guys. And anybody that is a designer in any major city, I'm sure you're going through the same thing. But if you're a designer in the burbs, you're not going through this. It's like on the level that it happens in a major city. It's like, oh well, this building was, blah blah blah, and now that this apartment has going to be renovated, it hasn't been renovated since 1963, so you have to bring everything up to code to 2026, and the homeowners are constantly saying to Madelaine, like, that's not my job. Why do I have to do the whole electrical for the whole apartment? And she's like, that's how it rolls in New York City, my friend. We don't get to say, we'll just bring it up to this level. Once you do something, you got to bring it all the way. And it's just, any of us that's done any kind of work in a city knows the constraints of space, and not just the freight elevators getting things in, but like, you guys have got to look at Madelaine's website, and we'll put it in the show notes. The creative things that this woman has done in tiny spaces makes me gaga. It is nuts. And also, what's very interesting about you, Madelaine, is that you're very color driven.
Mm-hmm.
And so, she will take an apartment that's like 800 square feet, and they'll be like 5,000 colors thrown up all over it, and it works. It's like, you don't feel like, what did she do here? And so I know, having been in hundreds of New York City apartments over the years doing window treatments, you know, the 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 many conversations standing there with the designer. I'm supposed to just be there to measure window treatments, and I walk in and she's having a contract, he or she's having a conversation with the contractor, and you're just like getting told the 10 things that you thought you were doing that you're not doing. And it's like, that can't happen, that can happen. And your architecture background, you're already thinking and saying that. You don't
Yes.
need a contractor to tell you this or that can't happen. And that's a really cool position for you to be in.
Well, yes and no, actually.
Okay, so you're
because
still learning,
I'm
right?
s- we're always also learning, right?
Right.
One of the super fun things about New York City apartments is that there are gremlins in nearly every wall. There will always
Wait, do
be
you mean
something.
actual live animals? Or you just mean surprises? No, you meant surprises. Okay, I was
On
like, whoa, that's
occasion.
so gross. Okay.
No, we did
But I
have
was
a
ready to
mouse
believe
issue.
it, by the way. I was ready to
Oh.
believe it.
There have absolutely been actual creatures for
No,
sure.
but you mean
But
there's always a surprise
always
in
a
a New York City
surprise.
job. Yes.
And contractors often will see things that I might not necessarily
Gotcha.
see, particularly since, again, like when I was working in commercial architecture, that's a different building typology than multifamily residential.
Yes.
And the era of the multifamily residential in New York City has tremendous variation with like wall construction, riser allocation, wiring configuration.
Depending on the
What's the
time it was
structural
built.
load? Is it,
Yeah.
a flat slab? Is it a pan slab? Is it a flat terracotta arch? And there's things that you can't always tell just by looking at a space, or just be like, well, he knocked on the wall, it sounded solid. Like you don't, right? But because the contractors are so much more like in the thick of the
They're pulling the walls
materiality,
open. Yeah.
right? Like their ear is a little better than mine when it comes to like,
Yeah.
oh, how thick is that concrete, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, is that a pier, is that a bearing wall, what do we think we got here? But I will bring contractors in super early on projects. I like to start things, because we've learned the hard way. We've gotten stung by it. And it's one of the things that I always say to clients when there's a renovation component. We're going to start off with like, look, I'm going to tell you some things you really don't want to hear right now.
Yeah.
There could be whammy number 1 of asbestos, whammy number 2 of electrical, whammy number 3 of code issues, whammy number 4 of concrete ceiling. There's going to be some things for people who remember, don't press your luck if you're old enough. 3 whammies. But I will bring my guys in even before we start our design concept, because if I think like, oh, I'm going to look at this bathroom, and this bathroom has a 24-inch door because welcome to 1963 in New York City, which is no longer allowed. We're going to have to move this wall so that I could get a 34-inch door to have 32-inch clearance to be local law 58 compliant. Can we even move this wall to do this? So before we even start designing,
let's not design and go to Waterworks and pick all the stuff when we don't even know if we can do it, right?
Exactly. Like, my dude, let's cut a hole in the wall and see what's in there, and let's reach out to building management and be like, hey, so-and-so has just purchased this unit. We're planning on renovating. We'd like to renovate the bathroom. We noticed this issue. We noticed that we're going to have to make this bigger. We also see in your alteration agreement that you have a no wet over dry preference. However, by building code, we're going to need to extend this. Given that we will waterproof and take it up an extra 8 inches up the wall instead of your basic 6 inches, will you consent to a wet over dry application for this extension before we even get started? So we know what our parameters are.
Your client could be all the way 3 steps into how beautiful this could be. And that's where your architecture background and your technical background really helps whatever clients
Yeah.
come to your firm, as
Yeah.
opposed to another designer who could be absolutely capable of creating a beautiful bathroom, but possibly finding that out way too late.
Yeah.
And now everybody's disappointed and lots of work has been done.
Yeah. And like the New York City building code is
I can't even
no
fathom it.
joke.
Yeah, I can't even fathom it.
It is so big, so dense, but I've lived in it for over 20
Yeah,
years.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
like I know where to go. That's my card catalog,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
I just keep making old people references today. So I think it's because I spent the day yesterday with my mother. So, um, we know what the things are because we've just been in it for so long. But it also means, and it's one of the greatest compliments that my contractors pay me, and I'm so appreciative of their collaboration and their kindness on this. They're like, your drawings are so crazy detailed and
Mm,
specific because if you're doing a 500,000 square foot office,
yeah.
you can't afford to make a mistake in what the door jamb detail is because that mistake's going to be made over 100 times.
Yikes.
So you're not going to be allowed to get away with that. Like you have to know how
Yes.
to do that. So we bring that rigor of the
Yeah.
500,000 square foot office or the 350,000 square foot hospital
Yeah.
to the 500 square foot apartment,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And like some people might be like, overkill much? Like maybe. Cool story, but like that's how my brain works. And I think it's easier to have the more comprehensive system and edit it down for what
Sure.
you need than not have enough. And then you suddenly get this like amazing 3,000 square foot penthouse, super duper wacky project and being like, oh, so like, how do I add extra sheets to my set? Like how do I group my keynotes? Right? Like, no, like we
Yeah.
got that. And that's how the architecture always informs, but also I'm notorious. Some might say famous, some might say infamous, some might say notorious. It really depends who you ask. For moving walls 6 to 12 inches.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which in New York City is a very annoying thing to do because it requires a permit to
Yeah.
move a wall 6 inches over,
Yeah.
which is insane. You're like, it's
Yeah.
still freaking, it's not a structural wall. Why do you, but paperwork and expensive paperwork and time of, but it's because my brain goes, oh, we want to have this life functionality as driven by the interior design intake process, which is associated with this piece of furniture, which comes from the interior design sourcing, which means I need this architectural backdrop to support it and fit it. And that's where the architecture comes in. And then I know what the construction of it needs to be to make that happen and make it work in a code compliant fashion.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
while the moral of the story, kids, is that while I may not have enjoyed the 18 to 20 years, I don't know that I would have changed or traded them, or at least like the first half of them, because it's the last couple I could have maybe walked away from, but it's given me such a depth of frame of reference
Yes.
for how
Yeah.
to
It's
just
not
see space.
wasted time.
Was not
It's not.
wasted. I
No.
learned volumes on volumes, even though I'm applying it in a very different capacity.
Yeah. 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 No, it's the truth. I mean, I think that I just subscribe to the belief that everything happens when it's supposed to happen, and that everything that happened got you to where you are for
Yeah.
the thing to happen that's happening, that you're thrilled and madly in love about happening.
Yeah.
Right. It is what it is. And you can look at it that way or you cannot, but I mean, I don't know, at least one has a positive outlook and the other just,
Yeah.
you're worried about wasted time. Like whatever it is,
Because you can't change it.
No,
So
exactly
you can
it.
choose to be grateful for it, or you
Find the
can choose to
silver lining.
resent it. But
Find the silver lining. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's even me with a podcast. It's like, listen, are there a lot of things about me that would have still put together a fairly successful, enjoyable show if I had done it at 35 instead of 53? Yeah. But would it be what it is if I had done it at
Yeah.
35. It would have been a lot more, um, I want to say the word that the phrase that comes to my mind is smoke and mirrors.
Hmm.
Not in that I would have knowingly been saying and purporting and doing things that I didn't believe in, but starting this after 35 years of running a
Hmm.
business informs every single
Yeah.
conversation I've had. I either am with you and I understand it because I experienced it, or I'm like, nah, is that really true? Because that's not my experience with it. But I question you on it. And maybe you then teach me the other side of it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or even like the one thing that's always in the reviews is, you explain to me the thing I didn't even know I was hearing, because I'll be like, oh, I remember learning that when I was younger in business and not getting it. And so what you just said is super smart, but let
Right.
me like put it back to your perspective if you're 1 to 5. Or
Yeah.
when somebody says something that is applicable to 1 to 5 in business, and I'm like, well, you know what, a version of that still is true at 40 in business, so let's put it on its head that way. And I wouldn't have had the ability, just like you looking at the body of technical work that you have from being an architect, I wouldn't have had the body of technical work as a business owner to impact these conversations in a way that I do, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't mean it's the only way, it doesn't mean it's the best way, but it is the way that I do it. And I couldn't have done it at 35. I would have been just as comfortable
Mm.
to question you, to have a conversation, to make a joke, but I don't think it would have had the depth and the insights. I mean, I know it
Yeah.
wouldn't have.
And or the empathy. Because I
Yes.
think that's what, for me at least, the older I get and the more challenges I face as a person, just my general well of empathy grows deeper to have that for other people, even if it's in a completely different context,
It's so
right?
true.
Like, I joke with people that today I am the most feral version of myself I've ever been, and tomorrow I'm going to be even more feral, because you start to find just a certain comfort
Yeah.
in your own personhood, and that allows you to just feel more for everyone around you, and that only gets deeper. And I joke all the time about how, I'm 46. So I look back at where I was at 36 thinking, like,
Mm.
looking back from 26, so 26 to 36, I'm like, oh my god, I didn't know anything, and at least now I don't really know anything, and I'm sure I'll
I
have some
know it. I
stuff
don't know.
figured out in my 40s. And now I'm like, oh my god, I can't wait to be like 66, because I'm gonna be like, oh, that's so cute how you thought you were starting to figure things out at 46. That's like really precious. But I have so much empathy. I have 20 more years of empathy for how adorable that is towards myself.
Yeah.
But that allows you to really show up. One of the other things that I think is a gift, in that way, that's the gift that no one wants but is nonetheless beneficial. Um, I did not have wonderful experiences in any architecture firm that I worked for.
Mm, mm.
And this is actually one of the things that I really wanted to make sure that we hit on in today's conversation, because we listen to so many, whether it's podcast interviews or we read articles or panel discussions, where people talk about, like, so I went to this office and I immediately found a mentor and the firm principal, and I've been here for 20 years and now I'm a partner, and it was just great. And they like, fly little bird when you're ready to grow. And I have like, and I'm like, that's great. I'm so glad that you had a sunshine and unicorns experience. And it makes me happy that that exists in the world. I have never had that. That has not been my experience ever. I am the squeakiest of squeaky wheels, as you well know. If you see something, say something, and not a lot escapes me. So I see
Yes.
things and I say a lot of things, and not everyone appreciates hearing all of them. Which meant that in a lot of firms, like, I was not necessarily given projects that I wanted to be on. I was not given the roles that I necessarily wanted to do. I was not given creative freedom to do the kinds of things that I wanted. But also, let's be candid, some of these were some seriously toxic
Yeah.
environments. There are a lot of conversations that are happening about how, especially 20 years ago, especially in a male dominated field, like
Yep.
this was a very different
Hmm.
workplace culture. And while that was not pleasant to go through in any way, and there have been, my mom can attest, over the last 25 years, through many tearful conversations, um, it has made me, I'd like to think, you can interview my staff next, uh, a really good boss, because I'm a really empathetic boss. And one of
Yes.
the ideas behind starting a studio was to say, we're not putting up with this crap anymore. And
Right.
we are not, there's no reason to belittle people for making mistakes. There's no reason to be abusive. There's no reason to put someone on salary for a 40-hour a week, but expect a
Them
minimum
doors.
70-hour week.
Yes.
And
Yes.
like, hey, but we'll give you like a stipend for a car home if you stay till at least 10 o'clock at night.
I know,
And
right?
and we'll pay for dinner. You got like $20 for
Right.
dinner if you
Have
stay till
Pizza
10
Hut
o'clock at night.
delivered. Yeah.
And your brain actually goes, well, like, it's actually kind of a sweet deal, because if I order Indian food, I'll have enough for lunch tomorrow, and I'll get the car home, and that'll save me half an hour. And then you're like, wait a minute, but I just put in an
Right.
extra
Like
4 hours
5 years
of
of doing
work
that. Yes.
for Indian takeout, which is delicious, but nonetheless, like, takeout in a cab across town. Like, Bryant Park to Gramercy was not a long distance to have to go if you're leaving at 6 o'clock instead of 10 o'clock. Um,
Yeah.
and I wanted very much to be able to plant a flag and say, this is not what this industry needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that change can start with me, and I
Mm.
can hire and I can build a team, and I can treat them with the respect and the empathy and the humanity that I did not feel that I receive. I can be the mentor that I did not have.
Mm.
And but I don't know if I would have had all that
Right.
if I
Right.
didn't have the unhappiness and the
A
poor treatment
hundred and ten
beforehand.
percent. There's a core personality and a core person that you are that again very much goes back to your parents, I'm sure, but also who you are. But it sometimes does take that dramatic, this is not the way, to
Mhm,
craft in your mind the way, or to give you the juice, because being a boss, period. Being a boss at the end of that sentence is not easy, period.
mhm.
Okay. But now, being a boss that crafts a culture and an environment where people are heard and respected and all the things, it is also not easy. It
Yeah,
is also not easy. There's choices that you make all along. But I think the juice comes when you said, you are rewarding them and doing it with and for them because it was so dramatically lacking and it was
yeah.
painful to have it lacking. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, however you get there, I think it's important. I think it's great because, I always say, young designers, when I'm working with them and they're struggling with, I want to rule the world. I want to be Shay McGee. And it's really hard because I have 3 little kids under 6. And I'm like, please rule the world after you create
Mhm.
responsible adults. Like, if you have a village to help you raise those littles, be my guest, rule the world. But if you are leaving them with babysitters and shuffling them from one place to another, you're not putting good humans on the planet. Like,
Yeah.
don't do that, right? And so it's the same with this. It's like, being a good boss, it takes intention. It's not just instinct. It is, crafting the culture, the environment, the expectations that contribute to it in its entirety. And so, good for you
Well,
for doing it.
here's going to be the super cheesy tie back on
Okay.
this. And I'm like apologizing in advance to everyone for how cheesy this is going to sound. You literally have to decide to be excellent
Ah!
as a boss every day. You're welcome.
It's
But
so
it
true.
is. You're
It's so
choosing, you're
true.
saying, how do I want to show up?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
not just how do I show up in my work and how do I show up in my clients, but
Yep.
it's how do I show up in the inside of my business that
Yep.
no one else sees.
That's right. That's right. That's
And
exactly where it
and
matters
how
most.
do I define excellent?
Yep.
What does that mean? And for me, it means a lot of kindness and understanding and
Yep.
empathy because, like, you know, we've all read, or seen summaries of a gajillion articles of, you have three plants, and one plant is
Yes.
in a house where everyone's yelling at each other, another plant's in a totally neutral environment, and another plant, you're saying,
There's
who's a good
music
plant
and
today?
sunshine.
And I'm like, oh, you're so green. Look at how leafy you are. You're so abundant, right? And which plant gets bigger, right? That's a choice. But clients don't necessarily see it. And it's also a choice that when clients get are not making their own decision to be excellent, which
Yes.
as human beings, everyone has not excellent days.
Yes.
It is your choice as a boss of, do you step in and do you shield your staff and do you
Yes.
take that heat? And do
Mm-hmm.
you diffuse that situation and stand for your team? Or
Mm-hmm.
do you let that heat pass through?
No.
Because I've
And I'm
worked for
going to tell you
bosses who
what,
have let it pass through.
and I'm going to tell
And
you my experience with having many, many situations over the 40 plus years of running a team and having clients and all the things. Here's the thing. If you're out there now and you just are recently or about to face a similar situation that Madeleine's talking about, like, somebody's being disrespectful, unkind, whatever adjective you want to put across it to your team, and you're like, oh, do I stand up? Like your instinct is you're a good human. Your instinct is stand up, but how and should I and when and blah, blah, blah. And I'm afraid to. And what if they yell at me? Here's what I can tell you from experience. I have never, ever had anybody have the nerve to talk to me the way they've talked to anybody on my team. So, right off the bat, just understand no matter how bad they are and how out of line they are not likely to do that to you as well, which then just gives you the juice to pick up the phone or walk in the house and do the thing. But they were a 10, rude, unkind, disrespectful to your employee. They might be an 8. They might be my experience is usually they back it all the way to 5. They usually lose all their nerve, especially if you walk in with, I'm here to take care of this situation. Like,
yeah,
and it's like, so, and it's funny because we just had a situation yesterday in my business. And what I want to say about it is yes, choose to be excellent. You're a human though. Things are going to go wrong. How do you manage when things go wrong is what you're talking about, Madeleine. Do you degrade? Do you yell? Do you whatever? This show has never once not aired on time in 10 years.
that's amazing.
Yeah. Last night at 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night, I've got a team member reaching out going, the show for Tuesday's not in the box. What? And I'm like, what? Like, wait, this is the show where it's not in the box. And that's the Dropbox. You're supposed to go get it from the Dropbox and load it up to Megaphone. So it goes out to Apple and to Spotify and YouTube and all the places. And, I'm like, and the thing was what happened, my uncle, who was my audio editor, ended up having 3 surgeries in the last 6 weeks. The same time
Oh my
Vinny was
gosh.
going through all his stuff, my uncle and my audio editor was having his own things happen. And so we had a period of time where, I'm reaching out to Amber de la Garza. I'm like, you got an editor for me? Like, it's not anybody I'm going to be able to put to work for a long time, but I need them in a pinch. And so we had some shows coming out done by my uncle, some show coming out by this other guy. And the show's not in the box. And I'm like, well, you know what? It's a show from the other editor. And I'm like, I have a slice idea where the show goes. I mean, for all I know, we get it from the moon every day. It's not my process. You know what I'm saying? And the thing was, we go back and forth 2 or 3 things. And she's like, well, no, I've been doing it with the other editor in the mix. It's always in the box, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, maybe it's in ClickUp. Go look in ClickUp. It's not in ClickUp. And finally, like after 15 minutes, and I know this employee has been with me many years. And this employee rightfully is like, this is a well-designed business, man. This thing has to come out on time. Like we don't mess around with this
Kind
stuff.
of our brand.
Right? And I know that internally that this is not a big deal. But I'm like, you know what? You tried this, you tried this, you tried this. I got no ideas. It's fine. I said,
Yeah.
Mary Alley will be in at 9. We'll figure out. It can take 1 hour for the
Yeah.
show to go from megaphone to the world, or it can take 10 hours. I don't even know now. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm slice idea. Did the show come out today or not? Because you know what? I'm not curing cancer.
Yeah.
And my employee does the right thing every day,
Yeah.
every week. And I know for a fact that if that show is not in that box, then there is a good reason why it's not there. It's
Mhm.
not like somebody decided today not to care. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Like, I know that to be true. So I'm like, hey, really, truly, the show won't be live when all of America wakes up tomorrow. It'll be fine. It'll
Yeah.
be fine. We will get there. We won't end Tuesday without it coming live. And here's what I also said to myself. Only my mom and Sarah Brennan will know that it actually isn't live yet.
Also, how's your uncle?
He's good. He's doing
Good.
much
Good.
better. He's
I'm so glad.
back to work and doing much better. Between him and Vinny this winter, it was like having so much fun. Not at all.
Not even a little bit.
Yeah,
Well,
but they're both good.
but I
So,
mean, like you hit on something so critical there, because particularly in these corporate environments, these, the big 3-letter firm
yeah.
names, and anyone who wants to check my LinkedIn can see which ones I did, and they're all the same. That it does feel like you're carrying cancer.
Yeah, the
Like
humanity, to your point, is gone.
and
Yeah.
there's just, I was working on a project for a hospital, and no joke, half the team, and the team
Sick as a
was
dog trying to get it
not
done.
6 people, half of like a 30+ person team. We all wound up in the hospital at some point working on this. That was my first spinal surgery, was working on that project.
Oh my God.
From stress related conditions. Like,
Oh my
there
God.
were, because when that attitude becomes so dominant that, like,
Yes.
no, but it's so important.
Yeah.
I remember being told, like, because I used to bring a smoothie to work every
Yeah.
day for breakfast, and my senior project manager was like, "You making smoothies every morning for breakfast?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "You're burning daylight wasting time being home making the smoothie until you could be here 10 minutes earlier." And I was like, don't worry, I made
Oh.
it the night before. I just pulled it from the fridge. I already thought about that. Like, that was the prevailing mindset of,
Oh.
like,
See,
what
I
do you
was
mean
not
you're going
cut
out for
out for
lunch and you're not
corporate.
eating at your desk? Like,
Yeah, I
what?
was never cut out for corporate. It wouldn't have worked.
Yeah. I mean, I never had a huge amount of respect for authority, and what little I had has completely dwindled. But this, like,
I couldn't have done it.
again, meanwhile,
I've been like, here's a smoothie
I
on your
talked
big
to,
fat head.
do you like kale? But, now with my team, it could be like, what time do you want to come over to work?
Yeah.
Oh, you have a dentist appointment? Right. Come
We're
over
working.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're working out.
And
This is when the presentation is. Let's back
right.
out what
As
days
long
we
as
need
it's
to get
done.
there.
Exactly.
Right.
It's not like, hey, willy-nilly. And it's the same for my side of it as well. Listen to me. This show is not going to come out once a week. Late. It's not going to happen. We start to do it this, like, literally, if it ever happened again in the next 3 weeks, I'd be like, okay, guys.
Now there's a problem.
Yeah, there's a problem.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? We need to end the day knowing we know where the show is. But
Yeah.
when you have for 6 years loaded a show up and every single time gone to the Dropbox and it's there when you need it, why would I think you wouldn't expect it to be there? Like,
Yeah.
I have the same expectation you do. So I'm not going to lose my stuff over it. You know what I mean? Anyway. All right. So to recap, there are pressures, internal and external.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they serve us, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they serve us until they don't.
Yes.
And then our job is to recognize the gift that they gave us, but then to break free and, listen to the inside voice that's calling you to do the next thing. And then to take all those good lessons and create the company that,
Yeah.
you can have, right, Madelaine?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
I release you and move along to something else.
Exactly. So, well, I appreciate your being here today and sharing your perspective. It's tons of fun to hear this other side of your life and your story. And, tomorrow we'll go back to you being an A++ chairman of the board. I'm sure of
I
it.
I mean, we'll do that later today. I mean, I'll probably Voxer you with a question in an hour. But yes,
Exactly.
it's absolutely my pleasure to be here. This has been a bucket list item for me,
Oh, that's
so
great.
very
That's great.
exciting.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Now, before I share my observations on this fantastic conversation with Madelaine, I want to do a shout out and a thank you to our newest show sponsor, Mr. Steam. And I want to put a number in front of you 79%. Do you know what that number is? That is the percentage of interior designers who say bathrooms now actively support their clients' health and wellness goals. Okay, that's according to the NKBA's 2026 Bath Trends Survey. So that's not, oh, one day consumers will care about this. 79% of the designers are aware that their consumers are wanting this now. Okay, what they're saying is, clients are asking for this. So what we need to do is, do you know what to do when they ask for this? Okay, you just need to bring them the answers. And Mr. Steam calls it performance and recovery. And it's the way that you can specify steam, showers, and saunas for your active affluent clients. They have a free guide on their site that explains exactly what steam and sauna do for the body in language your clients will respond to. So this is helpful in the sales process, right? You've got to know it exists. You've got to know how to talk about it. You've got to know how to specify it so that the clients who are looking for it realize you're the answer for them. And Mr. Steam has it all bundled up for you, nice and easy. So go to luannigara.com/Mr. Steam to download it, this guide, this performance and recovery guide, and then you will also be able to find the closest showroom to you so you can see the product in action. Alrighty, now let's get to this conversation. The headline: your qualifications are not handcuffs. That's Madelaine's phrase, and I want you to sit with it because what she's really talking about is the story we tell ourselves, the one between our ears, what we owe our education, our credentials, our investment of time and money. The idea that because you can do something, because you worked hard to get good at something, because you passed the test and logged the hours and earned the title, that you therefore have to somehow keep doing it, even if it's making you miserable. No, my friend, life is too short for that, right? Madelaine spent nearly 20 years in commercial and institutional architecture. She was licensed. She was senior leadership. She was making a salary that let her live like a human in New York City, which is no small feat, my friend, okay? And yet, she's calling her mother every day in tears. And here's the thing that I think is so important about her story. It wasn't one bad job or one bad boss. She did the things. She tried different firms. She tried different project types, different size offices. And she thought each time, maybe it's just this place, this scenario, these projects, this boss. But you can't fit a square peg in a round hole. And when she eventually realized that, it was that she didn't need a different hole. She just needed a completely different shape, one that fit her dreams, her lifestyle, right? And that is such an important distinction. If you are unhappy right now in doing whatever you're doing, if you're one of my listeners who is, side hustling design or thinking about being a designer, or you're already a designer and you're like, I don't like these kinds of projects or these kinds of clients, okay? You just have to, if you already know in your gut, you just have to face it and know there's something on the other side of it if you have the courage to walk through and create it. Now, the other thing I want you to hear, because this sometimes gets lost in conversations like this. The 18 years that Madelaine spent in commercial architecture was not wasted, not even close. Madelaine is doing things in her interior design practice right now that most designers simply cannot do because she has spent 2 decades living inside New York City building codes, detailing construction documents, and understanding how buildings work from the inside out. Her contractors rave about her drawings. She is walking into renovation projects and catching the whammies, the asbestos, the electrical, the code issues before her clients have fallen in love with a design that actually ultimately can't be done. This is a real edge that Madelaine has. It's significant. It's a competitive edge that comes directly from the path that she felt she was wasting her time on. Nothing is wasted. So, whatever road you took to get here, the accounting career, the teaching career, the architectural career, I want you to start thinking about it the way Madelaine does now, not as lost time, as depth, as the thing that makes you different from every other designer in the room with you. There was something else in this conversation that got me, and that's what Madelaine said about building a company culture from the scar tissue of bad experiences. She did not have good bosses. She was not well mentored. She worked in environments that were toxic, the kind like she talked about, her senior project manager telling you that making a smoothie at home before you leave the office is burning daylight. I mean, what? Right? The kind where half the team ends up in the hospital while they're working on a hospital project. I mean, this is nuts, right? So instead of normalizing that, instead of deciding that's just how it is, she made a decision. She was going to be the boss she never had. She was going to build the environment that she never got to work in. And that takes intention. And I want you to be clear about that. Being a good boss is not just instinct. It is a choice you make every single day about how you show up, not just for your clients, not just in the work that people see, but inside your businesses where no one's watching. Madelaine called it deciding to be excellent, right? And it should, because that's it exactly. That's exactly what I mean when I say it. Decide to be excellent in all things, in all ways, whenever possible for you. Okay? And I will say, if you are in a situation right now where a client is being disrespectful to your team, I want you to hear what I said in the episode. In my experience, the person who had the nerve to go after your employee will almost never bring that same energy to you. Almost every single time. They have backed down when I've been in that situation, right? And they typically will back all the way down. So please don't ever hesitate to step in to do the right thing for your people. This is your permission slip. Step in, protect your people, right? That's excellence from the inside, one way that you show it. I want to thank you, Madelaine, for being so open and real about your journey. This is not a highlight reel conversation, right? This was the actual road, and she walked us through every mile of it. And if you want to see your work, I'm telling you, it's incredible. I mean, when she first reached out to me for chairman of the board, what I always do is I go to your websites. What kind of level designer are we talking about? What kind of experience is happening here? What kind of copy am I reading? What's happening on your about page? You know, I have a million ways where I judge it from 1,000 miles away. I'll just be real. Okay. I look at it like a consumer looks at it. And I have to say, I was just like, whoa. For me, the big thing, and I said this to Madelaine, is having been in hundreds of New York City apartments over the years with doing window treatments for our own direct consumers and for other interior designers. You know, it's crazy, how you can have a $3 million apartment and it can be 1,500 square feet. It's insanity, right? And her creativity and, I think it's one thing. You can make a beautiful apartment if everything is whited out, right? It feels open, it feels airy, it's tiny, and you've done it. But to make a tiny space have vibrant color and feel cohesive and not feel like, oh my God, I got to take a break. And then you layer on it when you look at her site and you see the layers of storage and the way she is creatively, some of the before and afters, I spent a lot of time on the website before I met her. I was just like completely blown away. So I encourage you to do that also. And if the topic is hitting home for you, we have done episodes on the show before about career pivots. I mentioned in the episode April Gandy came to interior design from a career as a military pilot, and the precision and discipline she brought with her, that shows up. Okay, so we'll link that in the show notes. And it all goes back to what I've said 1,000 times for the last 10 years, Erica Ward's transferable skills, right? If you're new to the show and you're like, what the heck are you talking about? Erica was here, episode 6. And that episode is as relevant today as it was 10 years ago. She was the first person to talk to me about, I spent X amount of years doing this thing, wanted to be a designer, and I realized that everything I did there impacts my ability to run a good business in design. And so if you are in that transition and you need a little juice for your engine, please check out those 2 episodes, April Gandy and Erica Ward, and we will put them in the show notes, right? So if you are in this stage of your business or your life thinking about what's next, how do I do it? I need help and advice and guidance on it. I've got a billion ways to help you, from chairman of the board to exciting windows if you lean into window treatments to our new boardroom for creatives. Each of these are different ways that you can get help through me and all of the people that I gather to me to help me do this big job of helping you run a profitable business. The links to all of those are in the show notes. Thank you, Madelaine. Thank you tons for joining me today. I love our 9 million Voxers every single week. I love watching you run your business and come to your decisions and level up your decision making. You are a rock star. And thank you for listening to the show today, for showing up for me and for our community and for the industry. I love your guts, honest to God. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of Luann Nigara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or Luann University, go to luannnigara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to windowworksnj.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.